He built a business on my credit, and I didn't find out when the first customer paid him, or when he hung the glossy sign on the warehouse door, or even when he started coming home with that smug little grin that said, "Look what I did." I found out when a lender called me at 8:12 a.m. on a Monday and said the words that made the coffee in my hand feel like poison. "Ms. Parker," the man said, "we've sent multiple notices. Your account is now in default." Default. I blinked, still half in my morning routine. Hair in a loose clip, my daughter's cereal bowl in the sink, my laptop open on the kitchen table with an unfinished lesson plan, because I was a public school teacher, and mornings were always a race. "I'm sorry," I said, voice careful. "What account?" There was a pause, like he was deciding how patient to be. "The commercial line," he said. "The one you personally guaranteed. Apex Ridge Industrial Supply. Personally guaranteed." My stomach tightened so fast it felt like my body knew the truth before my brain could accept it. "I don't own a business," I said. The man didn't laugh. He didn't soften. He didn't hesitate. "According to our file," he said, "you do." That was the legal and financial anchor, and it hit inside the first minute of my day, clean and brutal. Because the moment he said those words, personally guaranteed, I understood what was coming next. Not a misunderstanding, not a billing error, not a small problem you fix with a phone call. A personal guarantee is a chain. A commercial default doesn't just stain a business. It climbs onto your name, your credit, your future, and it does it with paperwork that doesn't care how shocked you look in your own kitchen. I sat down slowly, the chair scraping the tile, and I tried to keep my voice steady. "Can you email me the documents?" I said. "The application, the guarantee, everything." He said, "We can." And then he asked the question that felt like a knife turning. "Is this still your address on file?" he asked, and read it out loud. My address. My home. Then he read the phone number, not mine, a number I didn't recognize. Then he read the email address, not mine either. It was a new Gmail account, with my name and my birth year, like someone built a shadow version of me just to sign things. My throat went dry. "I did not authorize any of this," I said, voice low. "I need verification." "Understood," he said, professional again. "But I do need to advise you. If the account remains unpaid, we may pursue remedies under the guarantee." Remedies. That word is polite. It means lawsuits, judgments, liens, wage garnishment, the kind of consequences that don't ask permission. I hung up and stared at the screen of my laptop, like it might start explaining my own life to me. Upstairs, my husband, Daniel Parker, was singing in the shower. Singing. Like a man with nothing to hide. Daniel had always been ambitious in the soft, charming way. He wasn't loud about it. He didn't scream CEO like some men did. He talked about building something, the way other people talk about learning guitar. A dream, a hobby, a future. He'd started consulting 2 years ago. Then it shifted to distribution. Then it became industrial supply. And somewhere in the middle of those words, I stopped listening closely. Because I trusted him. Because we were married. Because we had a kid. Because I was busy making sure our real life kept moving, while he chased the version of himself he liked best. I opened my credit monitoring app and typed in my password with shaking fingers. One alert after another stacked on the screen, like warnings someone should have screamed at me months ago. New trade line, commercial account, opened, hard inquiry, business lender, approved, UCC filing, Secured party recorded. UCC filing. My blood went cold. UCC filings are what lenders file to put the world on notice that they have a claim on assets, inventory, equipment, accounts receivable. And if there's a personal guarantee tied to it, sometimes they come for personal assets too, if the business can't pay. I clicked into the detail. Debtor, Ava Parker. That was me. Secured. Party, North Valley Capital. Filed 11 months ago. 11 months. I sat there in my kitchen, breathing shallow, while the realization crawled through me. This wasn't something Daniel did last week. This wasn't a moment of desperation. This was a plan. A long one. A layered one. A plan that required my identity, my credit, my clean history as fuel. And I had been living in the same house with the man who did it. The shower stopped. I heard Daniel's footsteps. I didn't move. I didn't close the laptop. I wanted him to see it. I wanted to watch his face. Daniel walked into the kitchen in a crisp shirt, tie half knotted, hair damp, smiling like the day belonged to him. "Morning," he said, leaning in for a kiss. I didn't move. His smile flickered. "Hey, what's wrong?" I turned the laptop toward him. "What is Apex Ridge Industrial Supply?" I asked quietly. Daniel glanced at the screen, and for half a second, his eyes went wide. Then, just like that, his face smoothed, his mouth curved into a small, calm smile, like he was about to explain an easy concept to a child. "It's my company," he said. "And why is it on my credit?" I asked. He exhaled, controlled. "Because we're married," he said. "We're a unit." My stomach tightened. "That's not how credit works," I said. Daniel's smile thinned. "It's how building works," he replied. "Sometimes you use the strongest foundation." I stared at him. "Me," I said. "You mean you used me?" He tilted his head like I was being dramatic. "Don't do that," he said. "Don't turn it into..." "Into what?" I asked. "A crime." His eyes flashed at the word crime, then cooled again. "It's not a crime," he said quickly. "It's paperwork. It's normal. I was going to tell you when it was stable." Stable. That word hit like an insult. "You were going to tell me after you built a whole business on my name," I said. Daniel rubbed his forehead like I was exhausting him. "Ava," he said, "if I told you early, you would have panicked. You always do." I felt heat rise in my chest. "I got a call from a lender," I said. "They said I'm in default." Daniel's face tightened. "They're exaggerating," he said. "We had a cash flow hiccup. It's temporary." Cash flow hiccup. The phrase was soft. The reality was hard. "Do you have any idea what default means?" I asked. He leaned forward, voice low. "I know exactly what it means," he said, "and I'm handling it." Handling it. Those two words were the most dangerous sound in my marriage. Because Daniel didn't handle things. He controlled them. By keeping me blind. "Show me everything," I said. Daniel's jaw clenched. "No," he said. "No?" I repeated. "You don't need to see everything," he said. "You'll just spiral." "Daniel," I said, voice cold now, "you used my identity to sign a personal guarantee. You opened accounts I didn't authorize. You filed UCCs in my name. And you think I don't need to see everything?" He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. Then he said softly, "You're going to make this worse." It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. He was telling me the truth without saying the truth. If I pushed, his fragile construction would shake, and he would blame me for the collapse. I stood up slowly. "I'm leaving," I said. Daniel scoffed. "Where are you going?" "To find out what else you did," I said. His eyes narrowed. "Don't do anything stupid," he said. There it was. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I panicked." Not "I messed up." Just "don't do anything stupid." Like protecting myself was stupidity. I drove to work on autopilot, dropped my daughter at school with a smile that felt glued to my face, taught a morning class while my hands trembled every time my phone buzzed. And then I called in sick because I couldn't stand in front of kids and talk about fractions while my husband had turned my identity into collateral. I went straight to the bank, not to beg, to gather facts. At the branch, I asked for printed statements from our joint accounts for the past 12 months. The teller looked at my shaking hands and softened. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "No," I said quietly, "but I'm going to need documents." She printed them, and the pattern appeared like bruises under skin once you know where to press. Incoming deposits labeled Apex Ridge, outgoing wires to lenders, payments to suppliers with names I didn't recognize, large credit card payments that didn't match our household spending, a monthly payment labeled NVC Commercial, North Valley Capital, the secured party on the UCC. Daniel had been paying business debt from our household account, quietly, while telling me we were tight and needed to watch spending. Then I saw it. A transfer out, $18,500, labeled equipment lease down payment for a business I didn't know I owned. I asked the bank manager, "Can you tell me where our money has been going?" She hesitated. "It's joint," she said carefully. I swallowed. "I know," I said, "but I need details." She printed wire confirmations. One went to a bank in Delaware, another to Nevada, another to a merchant processing company. These weren't household transfers. They were business rails. Daniel didn't build a company on hustle. He built it on my clean credit and our family cash. And he moved it through places that made it harder to track. The next escalation came when I pulled my full credit reports, every bureau, full file, not summaries. There were accounts I'd never seen. A business credit card with a $35,000 limit, maxed to $33,800, a merchant cash advance, with weekly debits scheduled, a vehicle loan, under my name, for a cargo van. And then the one that made my stomach drop so hard I had to sit down on the carpet. An SBA-backed loan. I didn't even need to understand the details to understand the weight. SBA loans aren't casual. They come with guarantees, covenants, and consequences. The loan amount was 6 figures, $287,000. Borrower, Apex Ridge Industrial Supply, LLC. Guarantor, Ava Parker. My name again. My signature again. Electronic, neat, like it belonged to a woman who confidently read what she was signing. It didn't belong to me. I stared at it, hands shaking, and suddenly every time Daniel said, "We're building something," felt like a joke. He wasn't building. He was borrowing, using me as the key. I called the SBA lender number listed and asked for the loan officer. When she answered, her voice was warm, practiced. "Hi, this is Jenna," she said. "How can I help?" "My name is Ava Parker," I said. "I need you to verify a loan file that lists me as guarantor." There was a pause, then typing. "Oh yes," she said, cheerful. "Apex Ridge, great momentum early on. Are you calling about the upcoming covenant review?" Covenant review. My throat tightened. "I'm calling because I did not sign a guarantee," I said. "I did not authorize my name to be used. I believe my identity was used without consent." Silence. Then her tone changed, not warm anymore, careful. "Miss Parker," she said slowly, "the file includes your e-signature and a video verification step. It also includes your driver's license. My blood went cold. Video verification. Can you send me the verification record? I asked. We can provide copies through a formal request, she said. We'll also need you to file an identity theft report to open a fraud investigation. I will, I said, voice low, because I didn't sign anything. I hung up and sat in my car in the parking lot, breathing shallow. Video verification meant Daniel didn't just type my name. He had someone or something that passed as me, or he manipulated a process. Either way, it meant he had gone further than I wanted to imagine. That's the thing about betrayal. The first layer hurts. The deeper layers make you feel unsafe in your own mind, because you start wondering how far the other person was willing to go. While you were packing lunches and folding laundry, I called a lawyer. Her name was Priya Desai. She listened quietly while I described everything: commercial default call, UCC filings, personal guarantees, SBA loan, hidden accounts. When I finished, Priya said, "This is identity theft," she said plainly, "and it's also marital financial abuse. We have 2 tracks: emergency protection in family court, and a fraud response with lenders." Family court? I asked, voice shaking. You don't have to be divorced to seek protective orders, she said. But if you're planning to separate, filing quickly gives the court power to restrain him from further damage. Restraining. That word sounded like a lifeline. Priya told me to do 4 things immediately: freeze my credit, open a new bank account in my name only, and reroute my paycheck. Change every password and secure my email with 2-factor. File a police report for identity theft and forged instruments. And don't confront him alone again, she added. He's already shown he's willing to use your information. People like that don't panic loudly. They panic strategically. Strategically. Daniel had been strategic from the beginning. I did everything Priya said in one long, trembling day. By evening, my credit was frozen. My paycheck was rerouted. My email was secured with an authenticator app. I opened a new bank account and moved what was legally mine as quickly as I could, without violating any court standards. Then I went to the police station. Sitting under fluorescent lights with a pen that felt too small in my hand, I told an officer that my husband may have opened loans and accounts in my name. He asked, "Do you know who did it?" I swallowed. "Yes," I said quietly. "My husband," he asked. "Do you have evidence?" I slid over printed credit reports, the UCC filing printout, the lender call log, the bank statements showing business payments. He nodded slowly, took notes, and gave me a report number. A report number doesn't heal anything, but it creates a record, and records are the only language institutions speak fluently. When I got home, Daniel was in the kitchen chopping vegetables, like a man who believed dinner could reset the day. He glanced up. "You calm now?" he asked. I stared at him. "You built a company on my credit," I said quietly. "And now lenders are calling me in default." Daniel sighed, like I was still the problem. "I told you," he said. "It's a temporary cash flow issue." "I filed a police report," I said. The knife paused mid-chop. Daniel's head lifted slowly. "You did what?" "I filed," I repeated. His face drained, then hardened. "You're insane," he hissed. "Do you understand what you're doing? You're going to destroy everything." Everything. He meant his business, not our marriage, not my credit, not our daughter's stability. His business. "The only thing being destroyed," I said, "is my life, because of what you did." Daniel slammed the knife down on the cutting board. We're married, he snapped. You don't get to call the cops on your husband. I do when my husband commits fraud, I said. His eyes flashed with something ugly. Fraud, he repeated, mocking. You're dramatic. It was consent. I stared at him. I never consented, I said. You never told me. He leaned toward me, voice low. You would have said no, he said, like that was justification. Yes, I replied, because it's my identity. He exhaled sharply. Ava, he said, this business was for us. No, I said, it was for you. You used me like a credit limit. For the first time, Daniel lost the calm mask completely. You're going to regret this, he snarled. You think lenders will just erase it because you say you didn't know? They'll come after you anyway. They'll garnish you. They'll ruin you. There it was, the fear pitch, the threat dressed up as advice. He wanted me to panic, to back down, to stop. But I didn't back down, because backing down was what allowed him to build this in the first place. The escalation came fast after that. 2 days later, I received a demand letter from a merchant cash advance company. It stated that Apex Ridge Industrial Supply, LLC, had defaulted on daily debits and that they would enforce the personal guarantee. My personal guarantee. They attached a copy. My name, typed. My signature, e-signed. My stomach turned. Then I got a call from a vendor, Industrial Hoses and Fittings, asking why invoices weren't being paid and warning they would file suit. Then, the worst one. A process server came to my classroom after school and handed me papers in front of the custodian, a lawsuit filed against the business, and me, personally. I stood in the empty hallway holding a complaint that listed Ava Parker individually as defendant. That's what Daniel did. He didn't just put my name on a document. He put my name into court, where truth doesn't matter unless it's proven. I called Priya, voice shaking. They served me, I whispered. Priya didn't flinch. Okay, she said. We respond. We deny. We assert identity theft. We ask for discovery of the application process. And we push the fraud investigations harder. Then she said, we also file in family court for immediate restraining orders and exclusive use of marital funds, because he's still in position to damage you. That week, Priya filed. Divorce, temporary restraining orders, an order preventing Daniel from opening any credit, making any filings, or using my personal information. An order compelling full disclosure of all business accounts, all credit lines, all loans. An order freezing certain marital assets and requiring court-supervised accounting. Daniel responded exactly the way men like Daniel respond. He filed a counterclaim calling me unstable. He claimed I knew about the business. He claimed I benefited. He claimed I was vindictive. Vindictive. As if protecting your identity is revenge. The first hearing arrived quickly. Family court moves fast when there's evidence of financial harm. Daniel walked into court in a suit that made him look like a success story. He smiled at the clerk. He nodded politely at the bailiff. He sat beside his attorney like he belonged there. Priya sat beside me with a binder that felt heavier than my entire marriage. Daniel told the judge a story. He said he was an entrepreneur. He said I was anxious and didn't like risk. He said I agreed to support him. He said the accounts were family strategy. The judge listened, expression flat. Then Priya spoke. She didn't raise her voice. She placed documents into the record, credit reports showing new business debt under my name. UCC filings listing me as debtor. The SBA guarantee listing me as guarantor. bank statements showing business payments and hidden transfers, the police report number, the lawsuit summons. The judge asked Daniel one question. "Mr. Parker," she said, "did you use your wife's identity and credit to obtain business financing without her informed consent?" Daniel smiled tightly. "Your Honor, she knew," he said. "She's just upset because business is stressful." The judge didn't smile back. "Then why?" she asked. "Are contact emails and phone numbers in her name, not hers? Why are lenders calling her surprised? Why is there a police report? Why is there evidence of e-sign processes that do not match her verified email history?" Daniel's smile cracked. Priya requested immediate temporary orders. The judge granted them. Daniel was barred from opening new credit in my name. He was ordered to stop using my personal information. He was ordered to provide full disclosures within 10 days. The court restrained him from transferring assets. And most importantly, the judge granted me temporary exclusive control over my income and separate account, and ordered Daniel to pay temporary support while the case proceeded. It wasn't everything, but it was a wall. Daniel confronted me in the courthouse hallway afterward, eyes tight with rage. "You just killed my business," he hissed. I stared at him. "You built it on my bones," I replied. He flinched, then leaned closer, voice low. "If the business collapses, you'll be on the hook," he whispered. "You'll beg me to fix it." I didn't answer, because I didn't need to argue. I needed to finish building what Priya called a clean record. Over the next month, Priya and a forensic accountant, Elena Cortez, worked like surgeons. Elena traced money flow. She pulled business statements through discovery. She compared vendor invoices to deposits. She mapped where loan funds went, and she found what Daniel had tried to keep hidden. Not everything had gone into inventory. Not everything had gone into equipment. Large chunks had gone into marketing consultants that didn't exist, into luxury travel, into a condo lease downtown, into a car payment for a vehicle not used for business, into personal spending that Daniel had funneled through the company. He wasn't building a business for us. He was building a lifestyle, and he used my credit as the ignition. Meanwhile, fraud investigations started moving. Lenders requested identity theft affidavits. They requested proof. They requested a timeline. And that's where the story became even more terrifying, because as each lender responded, the pattern became clear. Daniel didn't just apply in my name. He replicated me. He created an email account in my name. He created a prepaid phone number. He used scanned versions of my ID, likely from old documents in our filing cabinet. And for video verification, he used a recorded clip, a clip of me from a birthday video, a 30-second clip where I smiled into the camera, holding a cake, laughing while my daughter sang off key. The lender's verification record included a selfie video uploaded to confirm identity. It wasn't a live call. It was a file upload. And the file was my birthday clip, cropped, muted, edited, like my joy was just raw material. My stomach went numb when Elena showed me. Daniel had taken my face, my voice, my happiness, and turned it into a key to open debt. I sat in Elena's office and stared at the screen until tears burned behind my eyes. Because this wasn't just betrayal. It was violation. He didn't just take money. He took my ability to be believed and tried to weaponize it. That was already devastating. And then the 70% twist arrived. Not in a phone call, not in a court hearing, in a thin envelope from the county that looked like normal mail, until I read the subject line. Notice of Lion. Mechanics Lion/commercial. My hands shook as I opened it. A supplier had filed a lien, not on the business, but on our home. I froze. That didn't make sense. Suppliers file liens on commercial property, sometimes on projects, not on a family home, unless the home was pledged, unless the home was collateral, unless Daniel had signed a deed of trust, unless Daniel had used our house to secure business debt. My throat closed. Elena went into county records while I sat there, breathing shallow, and she found it. A second deed of trust, recorded 8 months ago. Borrower, Daniel Parker and Ava Parker. Secured party, North Valley Capital. Collateral, our home, my daughter's bedroom, my kitchen table where I graded papers, my signature on the deed. Not my signature. A forgery. Close enough at a glance, but wrong in the curves, wrong in the pressure, wrong in the way it tried too hard. Daniel didn't just build a business on my credit. He mortgaged my home to keep it alive. He turned my child's stability into collateral without my consent. My body went cold, because this was no longer credit score damage. This was foreclosure territory. This was the kind of risk that could erase everything I'd been protecting. I called Priya with a voice that sounded far away. "He pledged the house," I whispered. Priya went silent for a beat, then said, "Okay," she said, voice firm. "We move now. Emergency injunction, quiet title action, fraud referral, and we notify the lender that the deed is disputed." Emergency injunction meant we went to court within days. Priya filed a motion to restrain foreclosure activity. She filed a LS pendens, public notice that title was disputed. She filed a separate civil action to set aside the deed of trust and remove fraudulent encumbrances. She also referred the forged deed to the district attorney. Daniel tried to act calm when he got served. He told his attorney it was a misunderstanding. He claimed I knew. He claimed I signed. But the deed of trust had a notary, and notaries keep logs. Elena subpoenaed the notary. The notary responded with an affidavit that made Daniel's story collapse. She stated she notarized Daniel's signature in person, but she never met me. Daniel had brought a pre-signed document for my portion. She refused to notarize it. The notary stamp on my signature line on the recorded deed wasn't hers. It had been altered, stamped after the fact, recorded anyway. That wasn't misunderstanding. That was manipulation of public records. And judges don't like that. At the emergency hearing, Priya presented the deed, the notary affidavit, the UCC filings, the lender verification clip, the police report, and the supplier lien attempt. Daniel sat at the table with his calm face, but it didn't hold, because the judge wasn't listening to his voice. She was reading the paper. The judge issued a temporary restraining order, halting any foreclosure or enforcement action on the home pending investigation. She ordered the lender to preserve all application materials and verification logs. She ordered Daniel to surrender any documents containing my personal information and to cease contacting lenders in my name. She also ordered expedited discovery. Expedited discovery is court language for, "We're not letting you drag this out." Daniel walked out of court looking different, not confident, tight, rattled, and rattled men make mistakes. Daniel's mistake came a week later when he sent an email to his business partner, thinking it was private, complaining that I was overreacting and that he only used her credit because she had the cleanest profile. Only, as if that made it noble. Elena obtained the email through discovery, And that email became the crack that split his entire defense. Because now there was proof, in his own words, that he used my credit intentionally, not shared finances, not marital strategy, deliberate exploitation. We entered that email into the court record, and the power reversal began. First, lenders started cooperating when they saw the court orders and fraud evidence. The SBA lender placed the loan into fraud review and paused collection against me pending outcome. A commercial card issuer removed me as guarantor after finding inconsistencies in the verification process. A vendor froze accounts and redirected collection toward the business rather than my personal name. Not everything disappeared overnight, but the direction changed. Second, the district attorney's office opened an investigation. Forgery of real property instruments is serious. Identity theft is serious. Using falsified verification is serious. Daniel's calm mask cracked further when detectives began asking for interviews. Third, family court stopped treating Daniel like an entrepreneur and started treating him like a risk. The judge ordered supervised financial compliance. Daniel had to submit monthly business statements. He had to disclose every account. He had to pay temporary support without creative delays. And the judge granted me temporary exclusive use of the home with restrictions preventing Daniel from entering without notice. The house, the thing Daniel tried to turn into collateral, became the place he couldn't control anymore. That mattered more than pride. Because it meant my daughter could sleep without me, imagining sheriff notices taped to the door. Daniel tried to negotiate. Of course he did. He texted me late one night, voice soft in words, sharp underneath. We can settle. I'll take the business debt. I'll refinance. Just stop the criminal stuff. Stop the criminal stuff. Like I invented it. I didn't respond. I saved it. Because evidence isn't about feelings. It's about pattern. The final phase moved in courtrooms and conference rooms, with the slow, steady pressure of documentation. Elena's forensic report showed that Daniel's business was never sustainable without constant borrowing. He wasn't scaling. He was cycling debt, using one credit line to pay another, using vendor terms to cover cash gaps, using my name as the best interest rate, and using our home as the last backup. A house as backup is what people do when they're desperate, or reckless, or both. In the divorce trial, Daniel tried one last story. He claimed I knew about everything and supported him emotionally. He claimed the deed of trust was a clerical issue. He claimed the verification clip was a misunderstanding. Priya didn't argue emotion. She argued mechanics. Notary affidavit proving I wasn't present. Metadata showing the deed scan originated from Daniel's office printer. The email where Daniel admitted he used my clean profile. The lender's verification record showing the clip was a file upload, not a live session. The police report. The UCC filings listing me as debtor. The supplier lien attempt on the house. Piece by piece, Daniel's story stopped being plausible. And once plausibility dies in court, charm doesn't resurrect it. The judge issued findings. Daniel had engaged in marital misconduct and fraud. Daniel had attempted to encumber the marital residence through a forged instrument. Daniel had used Ava's identity to obtain financing. Daniel would be assigned the business debts. Daniel would be ordered to pay restitution for legal fees and credit repair costs. And the home would be awarded to me, with Daniel's interest reduced due to his dissipation and fraud. Awarded. That word felt like breathing, not because I wanted to win, Because I wanted my daughter to keep her room. Because I wanted stability to be protected by law, not threatened by my husband's ambition. On the civil side, the court entered an order setting aside the fraudulent deed of trust. The county recorder recorded the order. Recorded orders don't care how angry Daniel is. They become part of public truth. The lender released the lien. The supplier withdrew their attempt once the collateral path was severed. Then quietly, the criminal side concluded. Daniel was charged. Forgery related to real property, identity theft, fraudulent use of personal identifying information. He didn't get a dramatic TV perp walk in my driveway, but he did get something worse for a man like him. A record, a permanent record, stamped by institutions he used to manipulate. He took a plea agreement that included restitution, probation, and a requirement to surrender access to any accounts or digital identities tied to my name. Surrender. That word meant I was finally separated from his shadow. Months later, I sat at my kitchen table. Same kitchen, same tile, but the air different. And watched my credit score climb back slowly as accounts were reclassified, disputes were resolved, and fraud flags were placed. Slowly. It didn't feel like a victory parade. It felt like healing, one boring update at a time. And that's the truth people don't show in movies. The end of betrayal isn't fireworks, it's paperwork. It's the day you open the mailbox and don't flinch. It's the day your bank app doesn't make your stomach drop. It's the day you realize your name belongs to you again. One evening, my daughter asked me, "Mom, are we okay now?" She was sitting on the floor with crayons, drawing a house with a big sun over it. I knelt beside her and kissed the top of her head. "We're okay," I said softly. "We're safe." And safe was the word that mattered, because Daniel built a business on my credit. But the thing he never understood was this. Credit is not just a number. It's a history, a reputation, a record of trust. And when you use someone's credit without consent, you're not just borrowing money. You're stealing their future. Daniel stole mine, and he thought I'd freeze. He thought I'd be embarrassed. He thought I'd be too overwhelmed to fight institutions. He thought I'd accept "it's complicated" as an answer. He thought I'd stay quiet to keep the family image intact. But here's what changed everything. I stopped treating his explanations like reality and started treating documents like reality. I stopped asking him to confess and started forcing records to speak. I built my own file, stronger than his story. And once that file existed, police report, court orders, notary affidavits, lender logs, forensic tracing, Daniel couldn't charm his way out of it. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't make it disappear by acting calm, because calm doesn't erase signatures, and confidence doesn't reverse recorded deeds. Now, when people ask me what it felt like to realize your husband built a company on your credit, I tell them the truth. It felt like waking up and finding your name missing from your own life. It felt like being called delinquent by a stranger and realizing the delinquency wasn't about money. It was about trust. It was about control. It was about a man who believed your identity was a tool he could use without asking. Because you loved him. And the hardest lesson I learned, the lesson I wish I'd never had to learn, is this. Love is not the same as access. Marriage is not consent to be used. And "we're a unit" is not a license to sign someone's name to a guarantee that could take their house. If you're listening to this and you're in the part of the story where the bank calls, where the numbers don't make sense, where you feel shame rising like heat in your throat, I need you to remember something. Shame is how people like Daniel keep you quiet. Evidence is how you get free. Screenshots, reports, freezes, affidavits, emergency orders, forensic tracing. Not because you want revenge, because you want your future back. Daniel built his business on my credit, but I rebuilt my life on truth. And once truth is filed, once it's recorded, once it's stamped into the system, it stops being his story. It becomes yours.